Why it's showing like this? Anyway, let us start. So I will share the files. For some reason, they are not uploading right now. I tried to upload the files. So maybe tonight I will upload the files. And the videos are also with me. I could download the videos. So I found them. They are all right. Means there is no issue. So I will upload them and send you the links. You can still hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So we'll start our discussion today. So in the last two classes, we have just gone through a preliminary introduction of, just let me just check once. Yeah. So we have gone through a preliminary introduction of gas turbine and jet engines, or the different types of jet engines that are present, and also the applications and the construction of the basic construction of gas turbines. Okay. So I have outlined some of the points here again in bullet form, so that you know what are the main topics, and then we will dive into the actual discussion. Okay. So applications of gas turbine we have already discussed. Two main applications are power generation, gas turbine plants, or combined power plants like combined steam turbine and gas turbine plants. And the second major application is aircraft propulsion. Apart from that, we have also seen that there is application in marine propulsion, land propulsion like tanks. Okay. And then there are something called micro turbines, which are small scale turbines which generate power in the order of kilowatts, not megawatts. Okay. They are in experimental stage. For various applications, they are being tried. Okay. Small scale power generation. Then we have seen the different types of gas turbine. First is the industrial gas turbine. Then we have seen turbojet, turbofan, turboprop, ramjet and scramjet, and pulse jet. Okay. Although technically ramjet, scramjet, and pulse jet do not have any gas turbine, they are very simple cycle, but we consider them as part of this like different types of gas turbines. Okay. What we have also seen is different components of the gas turbine system. Different components. So the three major components that we have seen are the compressor. So why is this compressor required? We have noted that we need the compressor to provide a pressure ratio, to increase the pressure. And why is this increase in pressure required? This is required because unless there is an increase in pressure, you cannot do the expansion in the turbine. Expansion means there should be a decrease in pressure. So in the turbine, there should be a decrease in pressure, and the outlet pressure of the turbine is fixed by the atmospheric condition. So at the inlet of the turbine, you need higher pressure so that you can generate some work. Okay. As a result, this compressor is required. Turbine, we know it is required for work output, and combustion is required for heat addition. If you do not put any heat, so just after the compressor, if there is the turbine, then there won't be any work output. Net work output of the cycle will be 0. Okay. So these are the three major components, and in addition to this, there are two other components for jet propulsion cycles, which are the diffuser and the nozzle. Okay. Then we have also seen there are other types of classifications also in books. Sometimes gas turbine cycles are classified in two types: shaft power cycles, which are the industrial gas turbines, and propulsion cycles, which are all these different cycles like what we have seen here: turbojet, turbofan, all these cycles. Okay. So main two types: shaft power cycles and propulsion cycles. For propulsion cycles, the speed of air, like the incoming speed of air and the outgoing speed of air from the engine, also is very important. Okay, the kinetic energy needs to be considered because the engine flies at a high velocity. So the incoming air has a very high speed and high kinetic energy, and that actually leads to changes in the stagnation pressure and stagnation temperature, stagnation enthalpy. So that needs to be considered, which is not the case for shaft power cycle. That is the fundamental difference, okay, between these two. And the other difference also we already know that for propulsion cycles, the turbines are designed such that only sufficient amount of work is generated so that the compressor can run. For shaft power cycles, full amount of work is generated as much as possible. Some of it is used for compressor, running of the compressor. Rest of it is used for generating power. Okay, like running a generator for creating electricity. So we will start the first part of the course with shaft power cycles. Okay, and then we will move on to the jet propulsion cycles. Jet propulsion, not only cycles, the construction and the cycles. So among these shaft power cycles, we will start with first ideal cycles with some assumptions, and then we will move on to real cycles where we will remove the assumptions one by one. Okay. So what are these assumptions for the ideal cycles? This type of analysis you have already done for thermodynamics course. Most probably you have already done, or for IC engine or different types of cycles, ideal cycles you have already studied. So we are just going to revise that. So we will start with Brayton cycle, which you must have learned in your undergraduate or in your thermodynamics course. Okay. So ideal cycles, we know that. So there are certain assumptions. Okay, I have outlined them here. So first assumption is that the compression and the expansion process that are present. Where is the compression process present? It is present in the compressor. Okay, and the expansion is done in the turbine. So the compression and the expansion in the compressor and the turbine are isentropic, reversible, adiabatic. Okay, it means that adiabatic means that there is no heat loss to the atmosphere, and it also is reversible means that it is also frictionless. The fluid itself is frictionless. Friction does not mean only friction with the walls. There is also a fluid friction like viscous friction. So all these frictions are neglected, and what we get is a isentropic compression and expansion process. Okay. So this is our starting assumption. Second assumption for shaft power cycles is that the kinetic energy change is negligible. So any change in kinetic energy will not be considered. So we will not consider any velocity of the flow. Then the main reason these are called as ideal cycles, because these are based on ideal gas laws. We are going to use ideal gas laws. We will assume that these are ideal gas with a constant Cp and Cv. Okay. In real life, the cycles are not ideal gases. Initially, the air may be treated as ideal gas in the compressor, but once the combustion occurs in the burners, you have a mixture of water vapor, carbon dioxide, then nitrogen and oxygen, unburned oxygen. So then it deviates from the ideal gas laws. Okay, and the Cp and Cv also changes because the behavior is different from air once you have carbon dioxide and water vapor. But initially we are just going to treat them as ideal gas, assuming that the entire fluid is air. Okay, with Cp and Cv values for air. Later we will also note that Cp and Cv does not only change with composition, Cp and Cv values also change with the temperature, and the temperature is not constant everywhere in the cycle, right? Initially it is very low, but after the combustion process it is very high. So the Cp and Cv value may change significantly. Okay. So then the other assumption is that there are no pressure losses and no frictional losses. Okay. Frictional losses we have already ignored in the compression and expansion process. We will also ignore frictional losses in the flow through the combustion chamber. So when when the air is passing through the combustion chamber, there will be some frictional losses. We are going to ignore that, and because of these frictional losses, there are some pressure losses. So the pressure drops slightly in the combustion chamber. That also we are going to ignore. We are going to assume that the combustion process occurs at a constant pressure. Okay. Why it is at constant pressure and not constant volume? Because the two ends are open. Okay, unlike a piston cylinder system, here the two ends are open, so it's more like a constant pressure process, not a constant volume process. Constant pressure process approximates this combustion process in a better way. Then the final assumption is that the mass flow rate is constant. Okay, in real life the mass flow rate will not remain constant. We try to keep a constant amount of air inlet, but what happens is that there is fuel addition also in the combustion chamber. So after that the mass flow rate increases. And the second point is that the mass flow rate, for particularly for jet engines, the mass flow rate cannot be directly governed. It depends on the incoming air velocity. Okay, how fast the engine is flying. So the mass flow rate also depends on that. Okay, so but in this case, for this analysis, we will assume that mass flow rate is constant. And so with these assumptions, what we have is the steady state, steady flow type of process. Okay, you know what is a steady state, steady flow process. So the entire process, all the processes do not change with time, and the mass flow rate remains constant. So it's a steady state, steady flow process. Okay, all the processes. And we will do the calculations per unit mass flow rate. Okay, so all the quantities will be specific quantities, like specific work output. We know that per unit mass flow rate, when the work output, total work output is divided by the mass flow rate, we get a quantity which is known as specific work output, which is the units are kilojoule per kg. Okay, per unit mass, not per unit mass flow rate, per unit mass. So please feel free to ask questions if you have any questions in between. Okay. So what we have seen, the construction, what we have seen is that there is an intake, then there is the compressor, combustion chamber, and then there is the turbine and the exhaust. Okay. So these can be represented using this type of notations. Okay, typical notations for the compressor when we draw a schematic diagram is like this. What you can see here, this is not random. What it represents is that this cross-sectional area gradually decreases, means there is a compression process that is going on. Inlet occurs at condition 1. So we will assume, because it's an ideal gas air, we'll assume that air enters at state 1 and goes out at state 2. What is the type of process that is occurring here? It is an isentropic compression process, means that the pressure increases here isentropically. Okay. So after 2, the air, which is now at higher pressure and temperature, enters the combustion chamber, and there is heat addition in the combustion chamber. Okay. So this process of heat addition, we have already discussed that this we will assume it as a constant pressure process. So 2 to 3 is a constant pressure process where this the temperature increases because of heat addition. Okay, enthalpy increases and temperature increases. Then from 3 to 4, we have the expansion in the turbine. Again, turbine is denoted in this manner schematically, which represents that the fluid is expanding, the cross-sectional area is increasing, fluid is expanding. Okay. So here again we have discussed this is a isentropic expansion process. So isentropically the pressure is decreasing. As a result, the temperature also is decreasing. Okay. So this is the representation of an industrial gas turbine. Okay, what we get. So we will note here that the inlet and outlet are not connected. Okay, in industrial gas turbines, you have air at the inlet, and at the outlet the combustion products just go out. They are not recycled back. It is not like a steam cycle where the steam again is recycled back and the same steam is moving around and around again and again. So this is an open cycle. This type of cycle is known as an open cycle. So in real life what we get is an open cycle. Okay, air enters continuously and combustion products go out continuously from the other side. And because air is so easily available, we do not have to recycle anything. We just have to pass on new air again and again. Okay, continuously. For steam cycles, we have a closed cycle for steam power plants where the same steam is passed again and again. Okay. However, for starting the analysis, we assume that the cycle is closed. How do we close the cycle? We assume that there is a heat exchanger here. So what we will see later, just after this only I will show you the diagrams. What we will see is that the state 4 is at a higher temperature, although the pressure here is same as state 1. Okay. Pressure at 1 and 4, what will be the pressure for industrial gas turbines? It should be equal to the atmospheric pressure, right? So at 1 also, yes. Someone is saying something?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. So yes, because this is not a live classroom, it is difficult. Otherwise, in the classroom, I can ask these questions and get feedback from you. But now I have to ask questions and answer myself. Otherwise, if I ask, then many of you will answer together and nothing is audible to me or in the recording. Okay. In the classroom, I could have asked to all the students directly. Small question. So anyway, so the state 1 is atmospheric state, right? Atmospheric temperature and pressure. So for industrial turbines, it is equal to the atmospheric condition at the ground level or at whatever level you are operating it is. And similarly, the exhaust will also occur at the ground level, means the pressure should be, the exhaust gas pressure should be at the atmospheric pressure. Okay. There should not be any jump in pressure. However, the temperature of the exhaust gas is quite high, as we will see later in the cycle. Okay. So to close the cycle, what we do is we introduce artificially a heat exchanger, and assume that this heated fluid, heated air, loses heat in this heat exchanger at constant pressure so that it comes back to state 1. So basically, this is a constant pressure heat removal process. Okay, and this closes the cycle. And now what we have is there are two processes, isentropic compression and expansion, and two constant pressure processes, constant pressure heat addition and constant pressure heat removal. Okay, so this closed cycle can be represented thermodynamically by what is known as a standard Brayton cycle. What you might have already studied, you most probably everyone has studied as a Brayton cycle. Okay. So this is known as a Brayton cycle. These are the four components of a Brayton cycle. And if I draw the TS diagram of the Brayton cycle, standard Brayton cycle, ideal cycle, we know that the first process, which is the compression from 1 to 2, it's an isentropic process, so entropy remains constant. However, the temperature should increase because the pressure is increasing. Okay. What is the relation between temperature and pressure? T2 by T1 is equal to P2 by P1 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Yes, correct. Gamma minus 1 by gamma. I have noted it later on so that in case you don't remember also, there is no issue. Okay. But you should remember these things. These are very basic. Otherwise, this can be derived also from ideal gas law. Okay. The only thing you need to remember is that for isentropic process, PV to the power gamma is constant. If you remember that, all the other things can be derived using ideal gas law. Even if you don't remember how temperature and density varies, those things can be derived easily. Okay. But it is easier to remember that T is proportional to P to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So T2 by T1 is P2 by P1 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So because P2 is much higher than P1, we know that T2 is also higher than T1. And what is the ratio between P2 and P1? This is a design parameter. So the person who is designing the cycle or who is designing the compressor or the entire cycle decides what should be P2 by P1. This is known as pressure ratio, and this is one of the input design parameters of the cycle. Okay. Before designing the cycles, the designers note that okay, we need this type of engine or this type of gas turbine, and we will go with a pressure ratio of 20. After that, they start designing. So this is the input design parameter P2 by P1. Okay, and T2 by T1 is automatically decided because of given P2 by P1. How is this point 1 decided? Point 1 is decided by the atmospheric condition, standard operating conditions. Okay, so you are designing the cycle for certain application. For example, an industrial turbine which will be used in India. Okay, so you assume that the average temperature at the inlet may be 30 degrees centigrade and pressure may be 1 atmospheric pressure. Okay, so there may be some variation, but you have to decide some value for the design. Okay, and then in actual case there will be deviation from the design values. As a result, the power output may deviate somewhat within the tolerance limit. But the point one, my point here is that point 1 is also fixed. It is not arbitrary. Okay, point 1 is fixed because of the atmospheric conditions. Okay, we are not arbitrarily selecting point 1. Point 2 has become fixed because the designer has decided the value of P2 by P1. So automatically T2 by T1 also has been decided, and T2 and P2 are now known. Okay. And 1 to 2 in the PV diagram looks like this. This isentropic process, compression process in the PV diagram looks like this. So it's a curved line where the pressure increases and the specific volume decreases. Okay. Now we have the second process. What is the second process? Heat addition in the combustion chamber. Okay, it's a constant pressure process. As you can see here, it's a constant pressure process. This should be a horizontal line. Okay, constant pressure lines in TS diagram looks like this. These are curving upwards. Okay, these curve upwards slightly. If my diagram it is not clear, you should note that these are curving upwards slightly. Okay, constant pressure line. How is this point 3 decided? Point 3 is also not arbitrary. Yes.
Turbine temperature.
Physical limit of material.
Yes, good point. Good. So it depends on the turbine inlet temperature or the material of the first stage of turbine blades. Okay. So the first stage turbine design is very critical, and depending on the material and cooling of the first stage of turbine blades. So we will see that cooling and material are very important. The designers note that okay, for this type of blade material, nowadays super alloys are used, and particularly for aviation, single crystals are used. Single crystal super alloy blades, which we will discuss later on. Okay, and they have very high creep resistance, and there are a lot of cooling channels also within these blades. Very complex cooling designs. Lot of internal fins are present. The blades are hollow. Lot of internal fins are present and cooling channels are present. Coating is present over the blades. There is a thin ceramic coating. So all these have been used to increase the turbine inlet temperature. And once the turbine inlet temperature is given by the designer, this 0.3 is fixed. So that's why so much research is going on in improving the turbine blade material and cooling, because if you can increase the turbine inlet temperature, your maximum cycle temperature goes up. And we will note later that if the maximum cycle temperature goes up, the cycle efficiency increases. If 0.3 is higher, the cycle efficiency increases. Okay. So 0.3 is fixed now. So we have fixed 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And we know that 2 to 3 is a constant pressure process. Here also 2 to 3 is a constant pressure process. So in this PV diagram, how will you find 0.3? Because it's a constant pressure process. And PV is equal to RT. P small v is equal to RT. Okay. Using ideal gas law, where R is the gas constant for air. Okay. Not the universal gas constant. PV equal to RT. So from that we know we will know that V3 by V2 should be equal to T3 by T2. Okay, right? I think I'm right. V3 by V2 is because P is constant. Okay. V3 by V2 equal to P3 by P2, and V3 you can find out. Specific volume at 3 you can find out, and 0.3 you can find out because P is known. And in this case, already it is known, but it is along the constant pressure line, and when you reach this temperature T3. Okay. So after this, there is the expansion in the turbine. So the outlet for, we are studying industrial gas turbines now. shaft power cycles, as we have noted. So not jet engines. So for shaft power cycles, the 0.4 again is at atmospheric pressure. Okay, it is open to the atmosphere. The outlet is open to the atmosphere. So pressure has to be maintained at the, there cannot be a pressure jump at the outlet. Suddenly there is a pressure jump, it cannot occur. So pressure has to be same as the outlet pressure. So pressure at 0.4 is equal to the pressure at 0.1. Okay, again this is a constant pressure line, and similarly here pressure at 0.4 is equal to the pressure at 0.1. Okay, and if you draw the constant pressure line in the TS diagram, you can find out what should be the pressure 0.4. Actually, it has to be isentropically below this 0.3. Okay, it can be calculated also. And similarly here, you have to, again, P3 by P4 is equal to T3 by T4 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, but P3 by P4 are known because P3 is equal to P2 and P4 is equal to P1. So T3 by T4 is equal to T3 by T4 is equal to P2 by P1 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. All this I have noted later on, but you can calculate T4 from this once you know what is T3. Once you know what is T4 along this constant pressure line, you can just put the value T4. It should be just below this. Okay. So anyway, these are the two cycles, like two representations of the Brayton cycle in TS diagram and PV diagram. Why we always plot in TS and PV diagram? Because TS diagram, the area inside the cycle gives us the net heat addition.
Net heat.
Yes, net heat addition. And in the PV diagram, the area inside the cycle gives us the net work output. Okay. So as a result, we are always interested in TS and PV diagram, but we can draw other types of diagram also, TV diagram or any HS diagram. That also is possible. But for our gas turbine courses, these two diagrams are the most useful, TS and PV diagrams. Okay, so we will just focus on these two. But you should be able to draw other types of diagram like TV diagram, temperature specific volume diagram if needed. You should be able to conceptualize what is the process, how it is going on, and should be able to draw it. Okay, so this is our standard cycle. So work is required when this process is going from 1 to 2, and work is like we get work when the process is from 3 to 4. Okay. So per unit mass flow rate, we will do all the calculation per unit mass flow rate. The compressor work WC is equal to the change in enthalpy H2 minus H1. This is based on first law of thermodynamics. I have not put the entire first law, but if you ignore the kinetic energy and potential energy, what is left is change in enthalpy and heat addition and work output. Basically, if you remember the first law, it is the enthalpy at the inlet state H1 plus heat addition Q1. Sorry, H1 plus we have to check H1 plus heat addition should be H2 plus work output. Correct. H1 plus heat addition is equal to H2 plus work output. Okay. So accordingly, what you will find is that compressor work is actually negative, H1 minus H2. But for our course, we don't use the thermodynamic notation. If you use thermodynamic notation, compressor work is negative, means you need to actually provide work to the compressor. Work is positive when you get work from a process, work is negative when you provide work to a process. But for engineering applications, we already know that compressor needs some work input. So we just define what is the work input to the compressor, which is equal to H2 minus H1. Okay, which is equal to H2 minus H1. Again, if it is a ideal gas with constant Cp, I can write it as Cp T2 minus T1 with constant Cp. Okay. If it is not constant Cp, you cannot write like this. You have to integrate. Okay. It is Cp dt from 1 to 2. But for our course, we will be just taking Cp T2 minus T1. Similarly, turbine work output is H3 minus H4. Okay, change in enthalpy. This is the work you are getting. So for both the cases, you can see that there is no heat addition or heat removal, because we have assumed that these are ideal processes. Adiabatic processes. So the Q term is missing. So from first law, we get that W turbine is H3 minus H4, which again we can write as CP minus T4. And what is the heat addition? Heat addition is the change in enthalpy that is occurring in the combustion chamber. Again, if you use the first law, you will note that in this case there is no work output. There is no moving part, so there is no work output. And the first law has terms only of enthalpy at the inlet, enthalpy at the outlet, and the heat transfer. So from the first law, we will get Q in is equal to H3 minus H2, okay, which is Cp T3 minus T2. So the heat addition increases the enthalpy from H2 to H3. There is a large increase in enthalpy. Okay, the enthalpy change from process 4 to 1 is actually lost to the atmosphere. Okay, we cannot use that process. In real life, that is lost. Although here we have put an heat exchanger, in real life that is actually lost. That is not useful. Okay, so the net work output from the cycle is Wt minus Wc. The way we have given the signs here, it is Wt minus Wc, which is Cp_T3 minus T4 minus Cp_T2 minus T1, and efficiency is net work input divided by the heat addition in the combustion chamber, which is Cp_T3 minus T4 minus Cp_T2 minus T1 by Cp_T3 minus T2. Note that this is lost. T4 minus T1 is lost. Okay. So if you assume that the Cp is constant, you can just remove the Cp, and after doing certain algebraic manipulation, which you should do on your own. Okay, it is there in the notes, but you should do on your own. You will get 1 minus T1 by T2. Then within bracket T4 by T1 minus 1 by T3 by T2 minus 1. Okay. Basically, I have just taken out T1 and T2. Now, what is T2 by T1? T2 by T1 is P2 by P1 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Similarly, T3 by T4 is P3 by P4 to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, because these are isentropic processes. Okay. So here I have noted this. So this P2 by P1 is an important parameter, as I have already noted. This is an important input design parameter. This is known as pressure ratio and is denoted by R. Okay, pressure ratio R. Later on, we will see that most of the cycle analysis is done in terms of this pressure ratio R. So if R varies, how the efficiency varies, how the work output varies. So R is a very important parameter. So T2 by T1 is R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Similarly, T3 by T4 is P3 by P4, which is also equal to R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, because P3 is equal to P2 and P4 is equal to P1. Okay. So from these two, we get that T2 by T1 is equal to T3 by T4, which means that if you rearrange them, T3 by T2 is equal to T4 by T1. So these two terms cancel each other. So you are left with 1 minus T1 by T2. Efficiency is equal to 1 minus T1 by T2. Very simple equation. Okay. So it means that if T2 can be increased, the efficiency increases. And how will T2 increase? T2 will increase if P2 increases, if the pressure ratio increases. So if the pressure ratio increases, efficiency will increase. So in terms of pressure ratio, I can write this T1 minus T1 by T2 as 1 minus 1 by R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, using this relation. Okay. So this is our relation of the efficiency. Already you must know this, but let me explain still. So what we see is that efficiency is only dependent on the pressure ratio and nothing else. If the gas is fixed, if the gas varies, if it is not air, some other gas, then gamma will also change. If the gamma is fixed, it depends only on R. It does not depend on anything else. It does not depend on the inlet temperature, maximum temperature, nothing. It depends on the R value. Okay. Obviously, with R, if R changes, those values may also change, but it does not depend on any of those directly. Okay. This is the expression of efficiency. If you plot this efficiency versus R for a fixed gamma, you will see that for pressure ratio of 1, the value goes to 0. So for R equal to 1, efficiency is 0. What it means, pressure ratio 1, it means that there is no compression. P2 is equal to P1. Basically, there is no cycle at all. P2 equal to P1. So obviously the work is efficiency is 0. Okay. Then with increasing R, you get increasing efficiency. And with increasing gamma also, you can get increasing efficiency, but that is not so important. Because anyway, we are going to use air. Okay. So, yes. Typical values of, yes. Any question? Typical values of R nowadays is around 20 to 30 also is possible for jet propulsion. For industrial gas turbines, it may be much lower. Okay. Industrial gas turbines operate constantly for a long duration. Jet propulsion cycles are designed such that maximum load occurs only for a short period of time during just the takeoff or landing. Okay. During takeoff, the engine runs at very heavy load. Otherwise, during cruise altitude, the load is much reduced. Okay. So as a result, there is lot of safety, factor of safety for jet propulsion cycles. So they can use higher R values, and you also need more efficiency for jet propulsion because fuel cost is much more important there. The fuel that is used for aviation, jet propulsion, is somewhat similar to kerosene. Okay, it is very nearby to kerosene. It is known as aviation fuel, different from petrol or diesel, somewhat similar to kerosene. So this is one important parameter for each of the cycles subsequently that we are going to study. The thermal efficiency of the cycle. Okay, this is the thermal efficiency of the cycle is very important. Yeah. The second important parameter. So we will plot this and we'll see what are the actual typical values. We will write a MATLAB program. In the next class I will show you, and we will see what are the typical values. Okay. The other important parameter is known as net specific work output. Okay, what is the work output from the cycle for a unit mass flow rate? Okay, if you can increase the work output keeping the efficiency constant, you will need less mass flow rate. Okay, for the if you can increase the work output per unit mass flow rate, you will need less amount of mass flow rate for the same overall work output. As a result, if you can decrease the mass flow rate, it is very advantageous because if you can decrease the mass flow rate, everything scales down. So you will have a smaller turbine, smaller compressor, smaller cross-sectional area, less weight of the engine, and weight is a very important issue in many cases. Okay, and everything scales down. So net work output is a very important parameter. But when we study the net specific work output, we generally study in terms of non-dimensional parameter. So we non-dimensionalize it by so it is just for studying like this. It's not that it has to be like this. It's for studying, we just non-dimensionalize it by Cp by T1 so that it can be written in terms of nice parameters. But we could have done the same analysis with only W net also. Okay. So what is this not dimensional net specific work output? It is the net work output per unit mass flow rate, small w. You will notice that small w, not capital W. Small w means per unit mass flow rate. Net means turbine work minus compressor work. So net specific work output divided by the inlet enthalpy CPT1, okay, gives us a non-dimensional form. Okay, this is just a way of analyzing the cycle. So if you do this, what was the net work output? It is CPT3 minus T4 minus CPT2 minus T1. This was there, you might have already noted. We have calculated here. Okay, same thing. Divided by CPT1. Okay, CP cancels again if we have constant CP values. So we are left with T3 by T1 if you take the T3 out. Multiplied by 1 minus T4 by T3. Okay, this term. Minus T2 by T1 minus 1. This T3 by T1 is another important parameter in the design process, another important design parameter, and is known as temperature ratio. As I have already told, T1 is already fixed because of inlet conditions, and T3 is determined by the designers depending on the design of the turbine blades. Okay, so T3 by T1 becomes an important design parameter. If we can somehow increase the T3 by T1 value, it means that turbine blade inlet temperature increases. So efficiency should be higher. Okay. So this is denoted by this T, small t, okay, and is known as temperature ratio. Typical values are around nowadays around 4 and 5, 4 to 5 for jet propulsion cycle. It may be slightly less for industrial turbines. It could have been higher, but industrial turbines, the total system mass is not so important, and because the sizes are larger, the blades are more costly, so you actually cannot use very costly materials for the blades as compared to aviation cycles. So you use somewhat less expensive materials for the blades, not single crystals, most probably directionally solidified crystals. We will study this later. Okay. But note that T is an important parameter, which is the temperature ratio T3 by T1. So T into 1 minus, what is T4 by T3? It is 1 by T3 by T4. And if you remember T3 by T4, this is R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Okay. So 1 by R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. This R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma we are going to denote by C. Okay. There is no specific reason. It is only because we will encounter this term so many times everywhere R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. Sometimes it is easier to just write it by a single symbol C. Okay. I could have just written 1 by R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, but it is easier to write like this using C. Okay. This is also equal to the inlet temperature ratio. Okay, R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. This is also equal to T2 by T1. Temperature ratio in the compressor or the turbine. Okay, temperature ratio in the compressor or the turbine. This C value. So now we can write it as then the next term T2 by T1 also is equal to R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma, which is equal to C minus 1. So this is the expression for net specific work output in non-dimensional form. So if you plot this, okay, with varying R and varying T, okay, we note that R and T are the input design parameters that are under our control that we are going to decide. Okay. So for varying R and varying T, we can plot this. Again, I will show you using MATLAB in the next class. So with increasing R for a fixed value of T, say T equal to 2, you get a curve like this. It increases and again decreases and goes to 0, the net specific work output. For T3, T equal to 3, it again increases and far away it may decrease. Okay. Similarly, for T equal to 4, it is higher. For T equal to 5, it is still higher. Okay. So T equal to 5 is actually quite large. Means if the inlet temperature is say 300 Kelvin for an industrial gas turbine, T is equal to 5 will tell us that the T3 value should be 1500 Kelvin, which is very high. Okay, 1500 Kelvin for a gas turbine, it is quite high. Okay, for jet engines, inlet temperature may be 220 Kelvin, so T3 may be 1100 Kelvin, which is not so high. So T may go beyond 5 also, small t. Okay. Think about these things. And if there are questions, ask me in the next class also. So these are how the plots look like, net specific work output. So it does not keep on increasing with increasing R. It goes to a maximum value and again decreases back. Okay. We will see what happens for the higher T values also in the next class. We'll plot for very large values of R using MATLAB and see what happens, whether they go down or not. So at what point this becomes equal to 0, the work output, that also we can calculate. So for a particular case, like a simple example, I have just shown the calculation. For T equal to 2, you can substitute the value of T equal to 2 in this expression and find out when the work is 0. Okay. So if you substitute T equal to 2 and put 0 here, you can find out for what value of C this, and you'll find that for C equal to 2, this is equal to 0. I've shown the calculation here. I'm not, you can check this once. So we find that for C equal to 1 and C equal to 2, this is equal to 0. C is equal to 1 is the trivial case that there is no compression at all. Obviously, it will be 0 at this point. So the other point is C equal to 2. So remember, C is equal to R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So from that we get a value of R which is 11.31. So for a pressure ratio of 11.31 for T equal to 2 we get net work output equal to 0. You can check for other cases if you want. Okay, similarly. Why is this happening? Why the work is increasing and again going down? Okay. What is happening to the efficiency? Work is decreasing, but is the efficiency also decreasing? Can anyone say?
No, sir.
Efficiency is not decreasing. Okay, efficiency is increasing. We have seen already here. You should not forget. Efficiency will keep on increasing. It will never decrease with increasing time. It will go to some asymptotic value. Okay. But the work output decreases. It means that the heat addition also decreases. Let us try to understand this. What has happened here? Okay, for a particular T value. Particular T means particular temperature ratio. Okay. I have plotted some cases here. So assume that T1 is fixed because of the atmospheric condition. T3 is fixed by the designer. So basically small t is fixed. Okay, value of small t is fixed as we have noted here. So now the cycle, depending on the R value, R is still flexible up to the designer. We can have different types of cycle. Let us assume a case as shown by the left red color. Okay, that R is very large, means the pressure ratio is very large. Okay, R is very large. How will the cycle look like? What is the point T2? T2 is this point. I hope you can see it. I will put my mouse here. If there is any lag, you have to wait for some time to get. Sometimes the voice does not sync with what I am doing in the screen on screen. Okay, there is some lag. So this is T2 point. So T2 by T1 should be higher if P2 by P1 is higher, if the pressure ratio is high. But T3 is fixed. So the heat addition part is very small. Okay, a small heat addition and then a large expansion and a small heat removal. Okay, this is the cycle. This is how the cycle will look like with large R. With moderate value of R, how will it look like? Moderate value of R, it will look like this pink colored line. Okay, so you have a moderate increase in temperature from T1 to T2, then the constant pressure heat addition and like this. For a very small value of R, it will look like this blue line. Okay, very small R. So T2 by T1 is R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So T2 is very small, just slightly higher than T1. And you have a very narrow cycle like this, very long heat addition and then very small work output and very small work input. So the net work output is very low, but heat addition is very large. Efficiency is very low. So now if we keep on increasing the value of R for the fixed T, okay, if you keep on increasing the value of R for the fixed T, for this case, for example, you start with this narrow type of cycle, very narrow cycle, and gradually you go to this more and more box type of cycle, means the narrowness decreases and this line goes towards the left. It becomes more like this. And at the limit, if you keep on increasing the R, what will happen? At some of R, this T2 will become equal to T3. Okay, at some point of R, T2 by T1 will be such that, so T2 by T1 is equal to R to the power gamma minus 1 by gamma. So T2 will become equal to T3. At that point, how will the cycle look like? It will look like a line. So it just goes up to T2, then there is no difference between T2 and T3, and again it goes down. Okay. So net work output is 0 because compressor work is equal to turbine work. So net work output becomes 0. However, the heat addition is also 0. So actually you cannot directly calculate the efficiency from here, from the cycle. But we know that asymptotically the efficiency keeps on increasing. Okay. But from this cycle now you understand that what happens. Why if you keep on increasing R with a fixed T, you will always get at some point you will get the maximum work output. After that the work output decreases. So the work output is also equal to the area inside the cycle. Okay, net work output is equal to net heat addition. So the work output is equal to the area inside the cycle, and you can see the area inside the cycle keeps on increasing and again it will keep on decreasing if you make it narrower and narrower. Okay. So for a fixed T1 and T3 value, there is an optimum value of R for which W net is maximum. Okay. So I have done the calculation. We will go through it in the next class. Okay. I will stop here because I need some time to take the attendance. Please go through this material. I will try to upload it today. I tried it, but it could not get uploaded for some reason. So I have noted also here that T is equal to around 3 to 4 for industrial turbines, but for jet engines it can be higher from 5 to 6 because the peak load duration is lower. Only during takeoff or landing you need very high power. During cruise control you do not need such a high power. Okay. So we will stop here and I will take the attendance. Okay. Any questions? Copy join info. What does it give us? Nothing, it gives us nothing. We will see later. Okay. We'll do it the crude way. Bharatram? Bharatram, are you there? Bharatram? Sachin Kumar Singh?
I'm there. Yes, sir. Hello.
Sachin Kumar Singh is there. Yes, please try
Yes, sir.
to attend all the classes.
Yeah, sir. I was there in the last class also, but somehow I got disconnected in last 10 minutes, so I didn't go.
So I will note you as present in the last class. Okay.
Yeah, I was there, sir, but got disconnected somehow.
So I have made you as present. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
If this case comes for other students also, please let me know through email. Bharatram is not there. Huh? Sanjay Srinivas, you are there.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I can see you. Abhishek Anand, you are there.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Vikas Bhuparia is there.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Then Manthan
Present, sir. Present.
is there. Ajay Kumar Meena is there. Gaurav Kandalwal, Gaurav, you are there.
Yes, sir.
Present. Jishnu Shankar Barua is there. Present.
Yes, sir.
Raparti Suresh Kumar.
Yes, sir. Present.
Present. Ujjwal is present. Shubham Kumar. Present.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Pushpendu Das. Present.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Amgad Shyam Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are present. You are absent in the last class.
Yes, sir.
You should be present. Okay. Please be present. This time administration is very strict.
Okay.
Even if you join late, but still join the class. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Joining late is not an issue for me, unless you disturb the class. Prabhat Kumar Mishra is there.
Yes, sir.
Allapati Kishan Sai.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Present, sir.
Yes, I have noted. Dhruv Garg present.
Present, sir.
Venkata Rajendra is present.
Yes, sir.
Atul Jyotish present. Ramcharan present.
Present, sir. Present.
Suman Havldar present.
Yes, sir.
Ashwini Kumar Kausalya
Present, sir.
present. Gaurav Srivastav present.
Present, sir.
Gulshan Kumar present.
Present, sir.
Madheppa Pujari is present. Nilesh
Present,
Kumar
sir.
is present. Yes, I have noted. Nilesh, I can see if you are present. Nilesh Kumar is present. Chintu Sai is present.
Yes, sir.
Sudipta Das is present.
Yes, sir.
and Lokesh Sonkar present.
Yes, sir.
Everyone is present except Bharat Ram. Okay. So, okay. Thank you. We will meet in the next. I will send you the link to the videos, and I will also upload the documents here. Okay. So thank you. Yes.
Sir, one request.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Tell me. I can hear you.
Sir, that textbook, can you provide a soft copy, sir?
Just a second.